CBS 13 News is on your side at 6.
Streets and buildings flooded, cars stalled, extreme flash flooding causes some chaos all around the streets of Portland.
The Weather Authority team has you covered. We have crews in the hardest hit areas.
Take a look again, the focus on what was happening earlier today. Some people actually had to climb out of their vehicles, their SUVs and cars stalling in those quickly rising floodwaters.
CBS 13's Marissa Bodner is live now in the hard hit Bayside area. And Marissa, what's that like tonight?
Kim and Greg, we are seeing a lot of progress here on Somerset Street. Within just the last half hour, the water has actually completely receded. All that's left, you can see, is dirt and debris on the ground. The only barriers we're still seeing are these that are around individual cars that had to be left in the middle of the roads when people were forced to escape through their windows. Portland High School senior Eamon Dundon says he drove away from campus to find the streets in every direction underwater. He chose the least flooded, but didn't get far before he says his car filled up with water.
I was really panicked. I was on the phone and I was like screaming at the 911 operator, and he wasn't being too helpful. I don't know. I was scared, so I rolled down the windows and then it got up to my waist, and I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Never in my life. It's kind of bizarre, especially here. I guess it was a high tide, right? Yeah, it's crazy, something bizarre.
This was the cell that produced the heavy rain and the flood warning. That was the flood warning. The timestamp right there is at 11:56 this morning. So right around noontime, that's when everything happened here in the greater Portland area. And that's why we had the flash flooding. We had close to 6 inches of rain for a large portion of the area. This really is incredible stuff going into the storm. We had 1/5 of that at most.
It's quite the scene, and we are expecting the waters to continue to rise tonight. There is a flood warning in effect right now, and again, the waters are expecting to continue rising. They should get to about 17 feet tonight. That is 2 feet above flood stages here. Of course, this is all due to the torrential downpours that we saw earlier on today. To take a look at this video that we got from a viewer this afternoon. It was taken right here on Bridge Street at around 2 p.m. and you can see that the water is moving extremely fast.
Certainly an impressive sight out there, Jen, tonight.
Take a look at this video sent to us now by a viewer. This is at the parking garage at the Portland Jetport. It was sent to us, as I said, by one of our viewers. You can see the water bubbling up through the storm drains there, flooding out the ground floor of the parking garage. We're told that area is the car rental area, but there are no reports of any damage. The water is now drained out. We can tell you, despite the heavy rain, the flooding issues, the flights pretty much stayed on time throughout the day, and there are no delays reported tonight.
Well, the Portland preschool also experienced some flooding today, and unfortunately that's something that had to deal with before.
Yes, the Trinity Day School's interim director says that they noticed the flooding starting and they were able to save thousands of dollars worth of equipment. She says they were able to get that equipment off the floor and out of the water. The school will be closed tomorrow, but they do hope to be open up by Friday.
That's good news there for them. And also, we've been talking about all the damage here that we saw along Commercial Street earlier. We also saw some damage on the far side of Portland, downtown Portland, in the Forest Avenue section of things. A very busy stretch of Forest Avenue experienced some pretty significant flooding today as well.
And that's an area that doesn't typically see a lot of damage, unlike Marginal Way and right here where we are along Commercial Street. CBS 13's Katie Sampson reports from that part of the city on the damage and the impact.
Deering Oaks Park is partially submerged near the intersection of Forest Ave and State Street. It's just one of the areas that was impacted by these floods, and some spots cleared faster than others.
I was driving right through. No one really saw how high the water was.
Stevie DePaulo left for work around 10:45, but he only made it to Woodford's Corner.
As I went through, the water just kept getting so high that my car stopped. So once it stopped, I was stuck.
He says the water got so high he couldn't open the car door.
So I was basically trapped, it felt like.
The road was closed from Vanna to Woodford for more than an hour until the water receded. Just down the road, the Great Lost Bear opened late because of the flooding.
There was water coming through the door, so everyone had squeegees to try to kind of fight it back, kind of all hands on deck kind of thing.
The 295 on and off ramps at exit 6 were closed for a portion of the day too. Have you ever encountered anything like this?
No, I've only seen it on Commercial Street from pictures.
After experiencing it firsthand, DePaulo is offering this advice to other drivers.
If you have a small car, stay home when the water's high.
Many streets are being reopened, but some blockades are still in place. Portland police remind drivers, if you see one, steer clear of that area. In Portland, Katie Sampson, CBS 13 News.
This nearby hotel lot was completely flooded and barely accessible. The heavy rainfall from this morning easily pooled here, and that left parked cars stranded. Now, some people were determined to get to their cars, and they tried wading through this temporary river, although most people that came here, they simply turned around. Now, roadblocks were set up to close off the street in order to keep drivers safe. Remember, it only takes 1 foot of water to lift a car off the road, so the flooding here was more than sufficient. Now, during the peak hours of the rainfall in the early afternoon, the deepest parts of this pool were up to waist level. That was waist level. Now, fortunately, the rain started to taper by 2 p.m. and the water slowly started to recede.
Early on, people near Commercial Street in Portland knew this would be something to keep their eyes on.
All day. All day. I mean, it's just something that people deal with.
Boy, was he right. Nearly 6 inches of rain just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, at times with downpours of 1 inch an hour.
Oh, it's pouring. You're just getting soaked, you know. It's very windy, kind of monsoon-like.
Leading to scenes like this, and this one near Jay's Oyster Restaurant around high tide.
You don't really realize how deep it is until you see a car pull through, like what's about to happen right now.
What a difference a day makes. Emma Langelier also works along the Portland Pier. Here's her before and after look of this storm.
If it rains and it's high tide, this street floods.
Emergency officials preach turn around, don't drown on a day like today, but plenty of drivers chose to throw caution to the wind.
People are just trying to test the elements, so it was interesting to see.
So the scramble was on to clear standing water where possible. In other spots, though, the only solution was time.
It's just a test of Portland, you know, we're a port town and this is bound to happen.
Flood damage is usually not covered under a typical homeowner's or renter's insurance policy. For that rising groundwater damage, you will need flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. Businesses, something also to keep in mind, you're encouraged to consider flood insurance as well. Estimates say as little as 6 inches of flood water in your business can cause more than $10,000 in damage.